Every day we're bombarded by negative news. We need an alternative. We need more positive news. As Canada turns 150 in 2017, my partner Lior and I are traveling across the country to find the people and places that are contributing to a hopeful and prosperous future. I'm Kate McKenzie. Join me to discover amazing adventures, arts and culture, and inspiring ideas from across our country. Located in the center of Canada, Saskatchewan takes its name from the Cree word meaning swiftly flowing river. Home of Rider Nation, Saskatchewan's booming economy is driven by agriculture, mining, and energy. Contrary to popular belief, Saskatchewan is not totally flat. There are beautiful hills, lakes, and diverse terrain. Take the Great Sandhills, for example. Who would have thought that a desert landscape 3 times the size of Cairo exists in the middle of Canada? Sounds and voices are carried by the wind over great distances. This area holds spiritual significance for First Nations people. It is believed by some that this is where spirits go to play. We decided to play too.
Dick dear, the sun is low. I lift my feet and let the wheels roll. And where should we go? And where should we go? And where should we go?
For my next adventure, I met up with Brandy Lee Maxey to learn about a new type of workout routine. Inspired by her battle with diabetes and her son's recent diagnosis, Brandy Lee wants to help her community become healthier, so she created PowFit.
PowFit is just a fitness routine, a dance fitness routine that I developed that incorporates various POW dance moves into either high intensity or low intensity full body workout. I designed it so that it can be an at-home workout or any place workout, because I noticed a lot of my friends didn't really want to come to the gym with me, or they were uncomfortable or felt a little out of place. It's hard to get people started, but if you can get started in your own home or your own backyard, then it's a little easier to get into a routine. And a lot of my community members have diabetes. It runs heavily in my family, actually. I figured that if I license other trainers in First Nations communities to offer PowFit or to offer a fitness program in their communities, that it creates jobs, it creates opportunities for people to get healthy within their communities with their community members. Challenges that I faced in trying to get fit and also trying to build a business is that, like a lot of other First Nations people, I struggled through a lot of, there's a lot of racism, there's a lot of, at some point I was in poverty. It's hard to eat healthy when you can't afford to eat healthy. There was a lot of times where I did want to throw in the towel, but really that's not going to get me any further than I was. So I kind of pushed through those barriers, and eventually people are going to start seeing that you're devoted to this idea, or you're devoted to making a difference, and it opens a lot of doors when you're persistent. The thing with PowFit was that I wanted to kind of bridge a cultural gap. When you're in POW circle, there's a feeling, especially when you're dancing. You have a feeling. It makes you feel happy. It makes you feel love. It makes you feel healthy, and there's just a feeling in there. It's a way for everyone to join the culture.
I discovered later that my PowFit lesson with Brandy Lee would come in handy for another traditional dance in Saskatchewan. Our next stop was Batoche to learn more about Métis culture. The jigging was a pleasant surprise, but not one of my more graceful moments.
Well, you're on the Batoche National Historic Site And of course, it's all about the battle between the Métis and the Canadian government. A lot of the key people were Gabriel Dumont and Louis Riel, who were the leaders, first of all. Those are the people that we talk about here a lot. My personal opinion of it is that you can learn from the past. You know, like if you look at what happened, we should be able to take lessons from there. They didn't do this all for nothing. When we get people that come here and find out that they have Métis heritage roots, right, it gives them a whole new look on how they look at life. And so for this particular site and hoping to keep it is that it gives us an opportunity to offer those very memorable moments, those connecting moments. And especially when we can get elders to come in and share.
Thanks to the elders I met at Batoche, I ate things you'd never find on a menu. Buffalo tongue, bear jerky, and pemmican. See how this tastes. So,
what is it? To try.
No, it's not. Here, try
this is so good.
Andrew.
So fresh and like thick.
I come from the land of the Willow Cree people, just across the river. We did some demonstration cooking, my sister-in-law and I. I made the pemmican, right? And also made the rabbit stew. And my sister-in-law made all the bannock that everybody enjoyed today.
I was asked to come and join them in here to try and make bannock for them in this wood stew, which I have used first time I got married.
Buffalo tongue.
That's good. Smells like berries on there, yes?
Yeah, Saskatoon berries.
They're very delicious. Okay, what did I just eat?
Saskatoon berries, a bit of brown sugar. This, that was high tech. I put in.
Eat it.
Coffee maker. That's smoked moose meat.
Smoked moose meat. Ah, yum. So this is like pemmican, yeah?
That's pemmican.
Ah, no wonder it was so good. Thank you. That's delicious.
This is cream of rabbit.
Ready? Cream of rabbit. Let's see how this is. I've never tried this.
You want to try some cream of rabbit?
No, thank you.
Yeah, come on. Okay.
That's good. I think I got some on my nose.
Always a part to a rabbit that's the delicacy.
Yeah.
For me, it's
Thank you.
For me, it's this one right here. It's the hind leg or the back.
Yeah.
Okay. But for the older people, like my sister-in-law and that, that's the best part of the rabbit liver. The eyeballs, the brain, the jowls.
This is the buffalo tongue.
Oh, that's
Yeah. Is it going to be good? Yeah. It's going to be awesome?
Yeah.
As good as the pemmican?
Not as good, but it's good. And I'll tell you once you eat it, what's going to happen.
Okay.
Yeah, you can open that one.
Which one's this one?
I gather this is your partner.
Hey, this is my husband.
You know what's going to happen? Because she ate the buffalo tongue, she's going to be a French kisser.
We met up with local Saskatoon celebrity Jan Martel, author of the best-selling novel Life of Pi. I asked him why art is so important to society.
To me, art is just witness. When an artist writes or sings or draws or whatever, they're just bearing witness to their experience of life. In a sense, it's like sort of like a zoo. A lot of people don't like zoos, but there is a great utility to a zoo, which is when you go to a zoo, you see animals that you wouldn't see otherwise. You know, let's say we're in Canada here, you see animals from Africa or Asia. And in a sense, each of those animals is like an ambassador of its species, representing that species. And so you go to a zoo, and this applies especially if you're a child, you see a giraffe, you see a rhinoceros, you see an otter, you see a gorilla, and it's become something real. And because of that, you're more touched by its fate. Whereas if you never go to a zoo, you know, animals just live on TV forever. And you've never really seen one, so it's no bigger, no smaller than anything else on television. So because you've never seen one, interacted one, looked into its eyes, you don't really care for it. And therefore you're not going to care for the environment as much, or stories about the degradation of the environment in Africa or in Asia. So zoos, like books, like travel, make you meet the other, and hopefully, if you have an open heart, an open mind, opens you up to them. And that changes you, and therefore changes your relationship with the other, and that's the beginning of making the world a better place. Right now, in 2014, the problems of the world seem formidable, whether it's climate change, the horrifying things that are happening in the Middle East now with the Islamic State, the catastrophe in Ukraine because of Russia. There's a lot of bad news circulating. Now that's sort of what you see in the newspaper, of course, the little good news stories that happen a billion times over every day you don't hear about. But those billion good news have to start changing things, and I think they are. I think change is afoot. It's not necessarily very visible. It seems dark right now. But I'm optimistic, you know. Westerners have traditionally been very resilient, but you have to be aware of that your power is minimal, but you don't have to have great power to change things right around you. You just have to start doing it. And then hope that later on that'll start changing things at a greater level. And that's how things always happen. They always happen in, you know, Thomas Edison thought of the light bulb and it changed the world. You know, one man thought of something, it changed the world. You know, Marie Curie discovered radiation. Well, that changed medicine. You know, it starts with one person. One good idea will spread. And it's a question of having, you know, little tiny good ideas every day, and that'll start affecting change. So.
I like a lot of genres of music, and so I float between 1940s jazz music and kind of that old style of country that Loretta Lynn did, old outlaw country stuff. I like that. That's an influence. So I try to do a lot of storytelling on stage. And the most important thing for me on stage is making sure that everyone's at ease. So I work really hard to let them, work really hard to allow them to know me when I'm performing. My primary collaborators that I work with are Elizabeth Curry and Jeremy Sauer, and they're two musicians that I've worked with for the entire time that I've been performing as Belle Plaine. And they're just an incredible support system. I'm really motivated to be a musician because it took a really long time for me to make the choice to do it full time. It was something I thought about for years and never really, I was really frightened by the choice. And it's self-employment, it's self-directed, it's creative, you're working with your friends, it involves commerce, and those are kind of three very touchy things, you know, commerce and art and friendship, and it can be a very dangerous triangle to find yourself in. And so, I mean, it was a bit of fear going into it, but that is also what motivates me. A huge motivator for me was the investment that my parents put into me when I was a young kid with voice lessons. And they both died really young, and so that kind of came with this realization that, you know, if you don't do it, you won't do it. And that was a huge push for me to just let go of that fear or acknowledge it and still pursue what it was that I wanted to do. I think you gain humanity when you hear about somebody that's done well in the world, that we need that positivity. We need that to connect to people, and you know, you feel alone when it's all negative news out in the world, and you feel connected when you can share something with someone.
In 2003, if you looked up the Saskatoon Police Service, all you would find were stories about the Starlight Tours and the Stonechild Report. Neil Stonechild, a 17-year-old Aboriginal teenager, had been left to freeze to death by police officers on a cold winter's night. We want to tell you the story of what happened next, after the camera stopped rolling and the national media packed up their bags. This is a surprising story of an institution that had the courage to remake itself through a cultural shift. Every single recommendation from the Stonechild Inquiry was implemented, and the Saskatoon Police found a way to begin a healing process with the Aboriginal community.
I also got a copy of the Neil Stonechild Inquiry, and on the cover of the report there was a picture of Neil Stonechild's frozen body. And when I looked at it, I wept. I was in my office by myself. I had just seen the cover, and it was jarring. And I know that there was a lot of controversy, oh, that shouldn't have been on the cover, but I disagreed. I felt like people needed to see. There were a number of women friends that I had at that time, and we were exchanging emails back and forth. And we were all shedding tears, and because we all realized this could be our child. And I think in order to build trust and confidence in the Aboriginal community with the police service, we've had to be very, very diligent and comprehensive in our approach. And I really believe that our police chief, Chief Clive Wayhill, is in fact one of the best leaders I've ever had the opportunity to work with, because he exemplifies and models cultural respect, and he's also very committed and understands the importance of addressing racism.
The police chief instituted diversity training, recruiting First Nations members, and placing GPS in all vehicles. In fact, the Saskatoon police followed through on all the recommendations in the Stonechild report. The elders advised that the police meet with them more regularly, not just when a crisis erupts. Now police meet with elders 4 times a year to participate in a sweat lodge ceremony and talking circle to show respect and gain a better understanding of their culture.
Our city is quite diverse in culture, like I'd mentioned, and some of the ceremonies that certain traditions held sacred for a long, long time, by you attending them gives you kind of it lets you walk in that other person's shoes for a little while, lets you experience it, basically in the sweat lodge, everybody's even. And you walk out of there as family, as opposed to being different. It's an invigorating experience. It's tiring, and but you come out of there lighter, you come out of there less burdened. Plus, you've got to interact with a culture that is not mine. Like I said, I grew up around First Nations people, but I'm not First Nations. And they're very open to having people wanting to learn and wanting to. So that bridge between the two different cultures is I think what has helped our police service move ahead and become as good as we are.
We have a population that has a larger marginalized portion of that population, and we have some of the struggles with addictions, we have some of the struggles with mental health, we have some of the struggles with homelessness, and some of those sort of larger social problems really come to head in our cities.
I have a lot of faith in our Saskatchewan people. They're very hardy people, you know, and you think about the history of Saskatchewan First Nations and pioneers and some of the camaraderie that was built there. I still think we have elements of that. That's in our DNA. So it's really important for us to recognize that. I think intrinsically we're meant to get along with each other. I think that that conflict is inevitable, but I think you can work through conflict if both parties are committed to it.
For the most part, policing is quite dynamic. A call comes in, you go to the call, you deal with it, you go to the next call. My job as a beat officer slows things down a little bit. Years ago, cities were comprised of smaller beats. People worked their little areas and kind of did their thing. They had more time to get to know people, get on a first name basis. So that looks at the proactive side of policing. It's a side of policing that in modern days sometimes has fallen by the wayside, but at the end of the day, people are still people. And a relationship that is built with somebody over a long period of time, as opposed to an acute, quick call, can be head and shoulders different than dealing with someone who at a time that is in need, they can come to you because you formed a relationship with them.
When people come together to talk about a person with an elevated risk and work together for a solution, then the outcome for that person down the road is better for them, and it's better for us too, because if we can stop the bad behavior before it gets out of control, it actually reduces our workload in the future. Well, some of the, I'd say, are really innovative solutions that Saskatoon Police Service have come up with or been involved in Number one is the police and crisis team.
Specifically, the call we were at today, when we started work, I immediately got a message from our watch commander saying constable needs help with this certain call. Turns out that it was a young mother on the bridge, ready to jump, foot over the ledge, purse down below, which was phoned in by several bystanders, bus operators.
As our conversation proceeded, it came out that there was a number of really significant domestic violence concerns that she had had, which really contributed to her mental well-being. And connected to that, we have child welfare concerns because a child is around and seeing violence at a very young age. This was just a toddler. And so I was able to safety plan with her. We had the officers there to ensure everyone's safety, and this provided her with an opportunity to leave a situation that she had been trying without success up until that point to leave.
Sometimes an individual agency only has a piece of the puzzle, and when you put those pieces together, you come up with a better solution.
So whenever you reach a low, like we did with the Neil Stonechild inquiry, you have no place to go but up. But if you're going to go up, you had better be very strategic about it, because all it takes is one incident and you're right back. One of the things that's important is we actually measure how well we're doing. So it's not just us, oh wow, we're doing really good. You know, we actually have evidence of that because we hire Insightrix Research, and every couple of years they go out and they poll the community. Out of all of the Aboriginal respondents, in 2005, only 38% had trust and confidence in the police service after the Neil Stonechild inquiry. We went up a full 30%, 38 to 68%. In terms of building trust and confidence with the Aboriginal community. That's phenomenal.
What I think I've found in my travels and in dealing with people, you see a lot of differences. But if you can get past the differences, you find out that we have a lot more in common than we do different. We may look different, we may speak a different language, we may wear different clothes, we may have different social and cultural ideals, but at the end of the day, we're all people. And if you can get past those sometimes skin deep things, we are people at the core. So we all feel good, we all feel bad, we all struggle with certain things. We like a nice sunny day, we hate a cold winter day. You can look at that when you square it all down to basics. We have a lot more in common than different. So.
And where should we go? And where should we go? And where should we go? Chain moves those training wheels. The thought of leaving is so surreal. Don't leave the side alone. Two wheels and handlebars. Can't see all the streets and the motor car.
Are you okay?
And where should we go? And where should we go? And where should we?
Be a champion of hope.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking the button right here.
Get your regular dose of positive news.
The sun is low. I'll lift my feet and let the